You're listening to the BTEC podcast with Mr. B. Welcome back to the BTEC podcast. Today we're going to be looking at aerobic endurance training. But before we get into that, make sure you're checking out my website. Really out of excuses, guys, when you're trying to find information for assignments. You can use Google. If you're actually quite good on Google, you should be able to find everything you need. But also you could use my website. Links should be in the description. That should point you in the right direction for all the different things you're trying to find out for each assignment. Also, about this podcast, this should be used gradually in your revision. You shouldn't be listening to all the podcasts all at once. This is something you could be doing every morning. Every time you're walking into school, you could be just listening to a quick podcast or checking out a YouTube video. It's something you could be using gradually as you go along in the course to prepare you for Unit 1. So there are 3 types of aerobic endurance training. So continuous training is the most basic, straightforward one. Problem is it can be quite boring. So a lot of people will generally go for a run for a minimum of 30 minutes. 30 minutes steady state exercise at a fairly low intensity. And this is proven to actually improve aerobic endurance. And again, it can be quite dull and boring. So we could include activities such as running, cycling, swimming, rowing, or using a cross-training machine in a gym. Fartlek training is a Swedish word for speed play. And this is when training is completed without rest, using a variety of intensities and a variety of terrains. So similarly to continuous training, it does not require much specialist equipment, but it is a bit more interesting. It does avoid boredom. So there's a variety of different ways you could perform fartlek training session. You could be using cones set out on an athletics track. You could use lampposts to signify the different intervals along the road. And you could be switching between walking, jogging and sprinting. You could also incorporate hill sprints or running with a harness or weighted backpack. So you want to check out my YouTube video on fartlek training. This is a really good example of one of the types of sessions you could be performing to utilize fartlek training. So interval training is quite similar to what you would use in free weights, where you perform a period of work followed by a period of rest. So track athletes, swimmers and rowers will primarily use interval training to develop their aerobic capacity, but also it could be used to train the anaerobic system. So the majority of interval training will be performed on athletics tracks, swimming pools or rowing machines. But also this could be performed anywhere and over longer distances in order to develop aerobic endurance. So that's a quick summary of aerobic endurance training. It can be quite boring, but athletes that use this type of training consistently will see regular progress. Athletes like Mo Farah have become world and Olympic champions because of their consistent use of these training methods. Coming up next, we'll be looking at speed training methods. Thanks for listening. I'll speak to you soon.